Welcome back. It's 12:24 as we continue our coverage of the tragedy at Columbine. One of the ironic things that has happened since this tragedy came about a little over 24 hours ago, questions arose right away about the gun bills and the concealed weapons legislation that is pending in Colorado right now. We have an update from the Associated Press that is interesting, to say the least.
We're reading here from the wire. It says that two state representatives have moved to kill the gun bills that they had actually sponsored. That is Representative Gary McPherson, who has asked that his bill, which would have put a void on most of the local gun laws, be held over until the end of the legislative session in deference to the shooting at Columbine High School and and to the victims' families, which basically kills that measure. He still says this is not the time to be debating gun issues in light of what's happened yesterday.
The other legislator, Doug Dean, also has asked that his bill to simplify the process for issuing concealed weapons permits be killed. He says also the massacre at Columbine led him to pull that piece of legislation today at the Capitol.
Now, just to recap a little bit about what's gone on this morning, we've been getting hourly updates from Steve Davis, who is the Public Information Officer with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department. He told us first thing this morning that they had confirmed 15 fatalities, 11 men, 4 women, and at least one of which is an adult male who's presumably a faculty member there at the school.
Absolutely. A little bit earlier this morning, we also got some updates from the hospitals concerning the victims who were taken there yesterday after the shooting at Columbine. One of those came from the folks at Swedish Medical Center. We'd like to replay a bit of that interview for you now to give you an idea how those kids are doing. Let's hear that.
Yeah, we've spoken to her many times, and she's, when we do speak to her, she's in very, very good spirits. And she did want to say some things to her friends through us, and her mom would like to make those statements now.
Val said to make sure that her friends and her family and her teachers know that she's there, that she cares for them, that she's praying for them, and ask that you all continue to pray for her. And I do want to thank everybody for their prayers, and also thank the hospital people for the great care that they've given her.
Richard has a breathing tube, and he looks very good to me, although he's still on the critical list. If he could speak, I think what he'd say is he'd like his friends Damien, James, Bill, Mike, Caitlin, Ms. Little, his favorite teacher, Brandon, his brother Michael, Bobby, Justin, and his brothers Mitchell and Jesse to pray for him. He has a rather large family, and they basically call from all over the country. I live in Virginia, and I was pleased when I came here when I think he's getting excellent care. And every time he writes, when does the breathing tube come out? So now I told him instead of writing that, he should just put a 1 down, and that means when does the breathing tube come out. So he's trying to write little notes, and I think he's just really aching to speak.
And we all share his optimism and hope that things go well there at Swedish. Police and federal agents have been trying to gather as much information about the 2 suspects in the Columbine shooting.
Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold committed suicide, and their bodies remain inside the school with the explosives. And 7 News' John Fruza has been following this aspect of the story and has more for us this morning.
Yeah, it's really a touchy situation for police and also for the ATF, the bomb experts. While police and the bomb experts, explosive experts, are working methodically clearing Columbine High School, the pipe bombs and the other devices, federal agents, along with local bomb squads, are combing the suspects' houses.
Yeah, are you looking for bombs? Okay.
The Arapahoe County Bomb Squad has begun a search of the home of Dylan Klebold this morning. We were out there, and this home is an exclusive area of Jefferson County and Deer Creek Canyon. And as you'll see in these pictures, it's a somewhat isolated area. There is a gate here, and there is a security system for privacy. Neighbors say they seldom saw Dylan, but when they did, he was wearing a long black trench coat. But that's not unusual out here, they say, because many people in the area keep horses, and many wear these long dusters when they're riding, especially in bad weather. So they say Dylan Klebold didn't really draw anyone's attention. Now, no one I spoke to in the neighborhood would speak on camera, but one neighbor said he knew of no one in the Klebold's area there that they were close to. Police are now interviewing both sets of parents, and the assailants in these cases, both the Klebold's and the Harrises, trying to find out if the two shooters had help in planning or carrying out this attack.
Now, John, did you have any sight of his parents anywhere or family members?
No family members were out there today, and we checked yesterday, and police have actually cordoned off that area, had it cordoned off much of the day, and also at the home of Eric Harris. Now, and the reason for that is I'm told that in previous school shootings, and in one particularly in Oregon, one set of parents was murdered by the shooters, by the students themselves before they went on the attack. So they were cordoning off these areas, making sure that the parents were okay, first of all, that they were secure, and then secondly, they wanted to talk to the parents first to find out if indeed they had any information.
John, we still don't know for sure which weapons were used, how many there were. Steve Davis told us earlier this morning they're still at the scene. They haven't taken them out. Did you get any feel for where these kids may have gotten these weapons?
Well, and that's really hard to say. At this point, I've talked to federal agents and also state agents, and as well as local police. At this point, it's very tough to find out anything because, as you've heard all morning, there are explosives in Columbine High School. The suspects' bodies are still there. The guns are with them. And those two suspects, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, had a number of weapons. Now, the students that I talked to and that we've all spoken to talked about a sawed-off shotgun, maybe another long gun, and possibly as many as 2 or 3 handguns, one being a 9mm handgun. Now, what I'm told is as soon as they can clear that area, and as soon as they know that the booby traps and the 20 or so bombs that we've heard about that were in the building have been cleared, then the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms people, the federal government will go in, take a look at those guns, and start tracing them to find out exactly where they came from. Now, that's there's no assurance that you're going to know from those serial numbers, how many times they changed hands and so on. But that's the first step, and they really haven't been able to take that step yet because the weapons are still in the school.
Obviously, both of these teenagers come from upper middle class and above families and lifestyle. Did you get any more feel today for what their lives were like? And
when you talk to the neighbors in both the area where Eric Harris lives, I mean, a lot of these families, the kids who were hurt, the kids who were killed, came from that very neighborhood. In fact, the folks next door to Eric Harris's home, their babysitter is one of the people that has been injured, and she went to Columbine High School. She lives 2 blocks away. People are really baffled as to why these kids took it out on their own neighbors, not only their own classmates, but people in their schools. And they really don't know that. But in the case of Eric Harris, they talk about him being a loner. They didn't see him very often. When they did see him, he was polite, but he was very quiet. And the neighbors, especially those neighbors who were kids who went to Columbine, who knew he went to school there with them, said he was very quiet. He was very much a loner. Out at the Klebold residence, we talked to some neighbors this morning. They said the Klebolds really weren't close to anyone that they knew of in that area. Of course, the houses are there on many acres of land, so you don't necessarily see people going in and out of their garage every day. But they didn't have any bad feeling about Dylan Klebold at all. They just mentioned that he kind of kept to himself, right. and they'd see him infrequently.
Yeah, those questions yet to be answered, then, I guess.
Yeah, and I think most people are sitting in the living room saying, how do these kids get these weapons? How could you stockpile this much? And if you're a parent, how don't you know about that? And we heard neighbors yesterday at Eric Harris's residence talking about this work going on in the garage, breaking glass, and talk about aluminum baseball bats. In retrospect, investigators think they were probably talking about making pipe bombs, but they don't know. But the fact is, the question is, and they're asking is, how can you be a parent and not know that something's going on with this much ammunition, this many weapons, this much powder, et cetera, in your house?
Sawed-off shotguns and whatnot.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Okay.
A lot of questions to be answered.
Thanks, John.
Our coverage of the tragedy at Columbine will continue. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.